You've been doing everything right. Eating clean, watching portions, saying no to sugar, no to bread, no to late-night snacks. But here's the truth, that healthy discipline that's been praised for decades, it might be the very thing draining your energy, your mood, and your metabolism after 50. Not because you're doing it wrong, but because no one ever told you that your body and your biochemistry completely changes after menopause. This one mistake, it's not overeating. It's undernourishing, and it's shockingly common among smart, health-conscious women. Here's what's happening. When your hormones shift, your nervous system becomes more sensitive to stress. Your muscles need more protein to stay strong. Your brain needs more healthy fat to stay sharp. And your metabolism, it needs real nourishment to stay active, not restriction. But we were never told that. Instead, we learned to be careful with food, to eat less, to cut carbs, to skip meals in the name of self-control. And the result? More bloating, more fatigue, more anxiety, less joy around food, and the creeping sense that something just isn't working anymore. This video is about breaking that cycle with science, not shame. You're going to learn what actually changes in your body after 50, why most diet advice doesn't apply anymore, and how one small mindset shift can reactivate your energy, beauty, and strength in a way that feels natural, not forced. Let's start with a bold truth. The diet rules that worked in your 30s might now be working against you. Low-fat, low-calorie, clean eating, fasting. These ideas were marketed as healthy, especially to women. And for decades, many of us followed them religiously because we were told they were the secret to staying slim, youthful, and in control. But after 50, the biology changes. And that same approach, it can leave you feeling exhausted, anxious, and constantly hungry, even if you're technically doing everything right. Here's why. Your body doesn't want less. It needs better after menopause. Your body doesn't want to be restricted. It wants to feel safe, nourished, and supported. But traditional dieting is the opposite. It tells your body that food is scarce. That triggers your cortisol, your main stress hormone, and chronic stress, even low level, is one of the fastest ways to store belly fat and burn through your energy. A study from Mayo Clinic found that women over 50 who ate fewer than 1,100 calories a day had significantly higher levels of cortisol and lower lean muscle mass even if they exercised. Their bodies were holding on to fat not because they were doing it wrong, but because they were underfueled. Another key hormone, leptin, which regulates hunger and satiety. Chronic dieting confuses leptin. That's why so many women feel full, but still unsatisfied, or crave snacks even when they're eating enough. And when leptin's out of sync, so is your metabolism. Clean eating isn't always clean. Let's talk about the phrase clean eating. It sounds good, right? Natural, safe, responsible. But in practice, it often means overly strict, low fat, and low pleasure. You cut out carbs and lose fiber, which supports digestion and estrogen balance. You cut out fats and miss out on omega-3 south, which your brain and skin desperately need. You cut out joy, and meals start to feel like math problems instead of nourishment. In one study from Harvard, women 50 who followed moderate, balanced diets with whole grains, healthy fats, and protein-rich meals have better cognitive scores and stronger bone density than those who followed extreme low-carb or low-fat plans. Food isn't just fuel, it's chemical information, and your body listens closely to what you feed it. A slower metabolism doesn't mean a broken one. Yes, metabolism slows slightly with age, but it's not doomed. The biggest reason for slowed metabolism after 50 isn't aging itself. It's muscle loss from undereating and chronic stress from undernourishment. And the good news is, both can be addressed. When you eat enough high-quality protein, complex carbs, and essential fats, your body rebuilds. Your energy stabilizes, your cravings drop, and your hormones stop sounding the internal alarm that's been on repeat since your last restricted meal. Real women, real change. Susan, 58, was the textbook definition of healthy. No sugar, no gluten, salads for lunch, green smoothies every morning. But she was always tired, bloated, and frustrated. When she worked with a nutritionist who specialized in hormonal health, she added more protein, cooked vegetables, and healthy starches. Within 3 weeks, her sleep improved, her anxiety dropped, and for the first time in years, her weight stabilized without obsession. This isn't about eating more junk. It's about eating more real food, more often, with more intention. Calendar CTA and Cerrito Naturalmente, have you ever imagined starting each day with more energy, health, and confidence? My special calendar, 365 days of health, beauty, and wisdom, has been carefully created with practical tips and daily inspirations that will transform your routine and renew your vitality after 50. Don't wait any longer to live your best days. Click the link pinned in the first comment to get your calendar now. The bottom line, you don't need to fear food. You need to stop fearing hunger, stop labeling food as good or bad, and start tuning into how real nourishment feels. After 50, the best diet isn't about eating less. It's about giving your body more of what it truly needs, and unlearning the outdated rules that never honored your biology to begin with. You deserve to feel strong, sharp, and fully alive. And yes, food can be part of the solution, not the stress. Let's get one thing straight. If you struggle to feel energized, balanced, or in control of your body after 50, it's not because you lack discipline. It's because you were misinformed. For decades, women have been handed confusing, conflicting, and often outdated advice that ignores how the female body actually works post-menopause. The result: even the most intelligent, successful, capable women fall into the same cycle, eating light, skipping meals, fearing carbs, and wondering why nothing's working. It's not failure. It's faulty guidance. The myth of try harder. Our generation was raised to believe that health is a matter of willpower. If you're tired, eat less. If you gain weight, exercise more. If you're bloated, cut something out. This kind of thinking oversimplifies an incredibly complex system, your hormonal, metabolic, and emotional health, into a shallow equation. And it doesn't just fail, it backfires. According to Dr. James Chen, a leading expert in integrative health for women over 50, willpower-based approaches ignore the biochemical reality of the aging female body. You can't will your way through hormone shifts. You have to work with them. The business of confusion. Let's also talk about the industry. Billions of dollars are made each year by keeping women confused, insecure, and chasing the next rule, cleanse, or meal plan. Food marketers label everything guilt-free, light, or clean. Knowing those words trigger emotions, not facts. Neuromarketing studies from Stanford showed that women, especially over 45, are highly responsive to emotional cues on packaging, not because they're irrational, but because they've been trained to equate food with morality. Good. Bad. Allowed. Forbidden. And when food becomes a moral issue, guilt replaces intuition. You stop asking, what does my body need? And start asking, what am I allowed to eat today? That mindset isn't healthy. It's exhausting. The science was always there. We just weren't told. Here's what's frustrating. We now have decades of research on how female metabolism, brain chemistry, and muscle composition change after menopause. But most general nutrition advice still treats all bodies the same, or worse. Bases everything on studies done on young men. According to a 2022 UCLA review, only 12% of clinical nutrition trials included postmenopausal women as a primary study group. That means the food guidelines, calorie calculators, and weight loss hacks pushed on women over 50 are often irrelevant, or even harmful. Real story: I thought I was broken. Carla, 62, is a retired attorney. For most of her life, she was sharp, organized, and on top of her health. But when menopause hit, everything shifted. She kept eating the same clean meals, salads, protein bars, low-fat snacks, and kept feeling worse. By 4 p.m. every day, I was foggy, irritable, and craving sugar. I thought I was losing control, she told us. Turns out, Carla wasn't broken. She was just following outdated rules that no longer served her biology. Once she started eating more healthy fats, warming foods, and small meals throughout the day, her brain fog lifted. Her energy returned. Her weight even stabilized without any extra effort. The change wasn't in her willpower. It was in her understanding. The emotional weight of confusion. There's a kind of grief that comes when your body changes, and no one explains why. You start to question your instincts. You lose trust in your hunger cues. You second-guess every bite. And that mental load, the hypervigilance, the food guilt, the body checking, it wears you down. One woman told us, I spend more time worrying about what to eat than actually enjoying my life. That's not health. That's a burden. So what do? You start by replacing judgment with curiosity. You ask, what if my body isn't betraying me? It's just asking for something new. What if more nourishment, not less, is the key to stability? You learn to read your symptoms not as failures, but as feedback. You give yourself permission to evolve, because what worked at 35 won't always work at 55, and that's not your fault. That's biology. The shift that changes everything when you realize the problem isn't you. It's the outdated information you were given. Something powerful happens. You stop punishing your body. You start partnering with it. And that single shift in mindset, it lays the groundwork for real transformation, the kind that doesn't require starving, shaming, or striving. What if the secret to feeling better after 50 isn't cutting more, but adding more? More protein, more flavor, more satisfaction, more nourishment. For many women, this idea feels foreign, almost rebellious. We've been taught that control equals safety, that if we loosen the reins, everything will fall apart. But here's the truth: your body isn't asking for control, it's asking for support. When you stop restricting and start nourishing, everything changes, from the way you digest food, to how you sleep, to the way you experience joy in your own skin. The physiology of nourishment. Let's talk about what happens biochemically. When your body feels nourished, your cortisol drops, your digestion improves, your blood sugar stabilizes, and your brain releases serotonin, a neurotransmitter that affects everything from your mood to your cravings. When women over 50 increase their intake of whole foods, especially protein, healthy fats, and complex carbs, studies show improvements in sleep quality, skin hydration, and elasticity, energy levels, libido, mental clarity. One study from UCLA's Center for Human Nutrition found that women post-menopause who ate protein and fiber-rich meals 3 times a day had 30% better sleep scores and 40% fewer mood swings than those on low-calorie, low-fat diets. Why? Because nourishment signals safety. And when your body feels safe, it functions beautifully. What does nourishment look like? It doesn't mean overeating or abandoning structure. It means building meals that give you more of what your body is missing, protein to support muscle, and hormones, healthy fats to protect your brain, and skin, complex carbs to fuel energy and regulate mood, colorful vegetables for fiber, antioxidants, and vibrancy. It also means reintroducing pleasure to your meals. Eating in calm environments. Slowing down. Chewing well, actually tasting your food. These aren't luxuries, they're biology. Real life. From drained to grounded. Elena, 57, was constantly cold, low energy, and always bloated, despite eating clean. She skipped breakfast, had salads for lunch, and snacked on fruit and nuts. After working with a functional nutritionist, she made just a few changes, added eggs and avocado to her mornings, swapped raw salads for warm roasted vegetables, included sweet potatoes and lentils. At dinner within weeks, she felt warmer, stronger, and more emotionally stable. Her digestion improved. Her anxiety dropped. She even started sleeping through the night for the first time in years. She didn't eat more junk. She ate more wisely. Calendar. CTA and Cerrito Naturalmente. Have you ever imagined starting each day with more energy, health, and confidence? My special calendar, 365 days of health, beauty, and wisdom, has been carefully created with practical tips and daily inspirations that will transform your routine and renew your vitality after 50. Don't wait any longer to live your best days. Click the link pinned in the first comment to get your calendar now. Why this feels so different? Many women say that once they start eating this way, they feel like they're finally living in the right body, not because their weight changed, but because their relationship with food did. They feel calm instead of chaotic, clear instead of confused. Nourishment doesn't just change what's on your plate, it changes how you show up in your day. The visual difference. Let's bring in some texture. Imagine your plate, warm grilled salmon, with roasted carrots, quinoa, a drizzle of olive oil, and a slice of ripe avocado. Imagine your body, relaxed shoulders, steady breath, a calm belly that isn't asking for more sugar. Imagine your mindset, no guilt, no second guessing, number for P.M. crash. Just stability. This isn't fantasy. This is what happens when you work with your body, not against it. The nourishment mindset. To nourish is to trust. To say, my body knows what it needs. To believe, I don't have to punish myself to be well. The more you nourish, the less you crave. The more stable your hormones, the less anxious your mind. The more steady your meals, the more vibrant your life. When most women think about hormones, they think of menopause, hot flashes, or mood swings. But what many don't realize is that your hormones respond to what you eat every single day. Food isn't just fuel, it's a conversation. Every bite you take sends a signal to your endocrine system, the complex network of glands that regulates everything from your sleep to your weight to your mental clarity. And after 50, when estrogen levels drop and your hormonal landscape shifts, the impact of food becomes even more profound. The estrogen connection. Estrogen doesn't just affect your reproductive system. It influences how your body processes insulin, stores fat, repairs skin, and even supports brain health. When estrogen declines, as it naturally does after menopause, your cells become less responsive to insulin. That means blood sugar can spike more easily, leading to crashes, cravings, and increased fat storage, especially around the midsection. But here's the good news: the right foods can help buffer this shift. According to research from Johns Hopkins, postmenopausal women who consume consistent amounts of fiber, protein, and omega-3 fats experience more stable insulin levels and fewer mood fluctuations than those on low-fat or high-sugar diets. Food doesn't replace hormones, but it absolutely helps regulate their impact. Insulin, the silent saboteur. Insulin is the hormone responsible for moving glucose sugar from your blood into your cells. When your body becomes resistant to insulin, a common change after 50, it doesn't just affect weight. It affects energy, memory, skin, and even inflammation. The worst part, you may not feel it happening. Many women experience insulin resistance without ever being diagnosed. The clues are subtle: afternoon fatigue, brain fog, sugar cravings after meals, difficulty losing weight even with healthy habits. The solution isn't starving, it's balancing. Adding protein to every meal, eating healthy fats, and including low glycemic carbs like lentils, berries, and sweet potatoes. These small shifts help insulin work with you, not against you. Serotonin, your mood's best friend. Now, let's talk about something rarely discussed: how nutrition impacts your mood through serotonin, the feel-good hormone. Roughly 90% of serotonin is produced in the gut. Yes, your gut. That means the quality of your digestion and the diversity of your gut microbiome directly influence how calm, happy, and emotionally stable you feel. When you restrict food or rely on low-nutrient meals like rice cakes, protein bars, or ultra-processed diet snacks, your gut bacteria weaken, your serotonin production drops, and you feel it: irritability, low motivation, even mild depression. But when you nourish with variety, fermented foods, fiber-rich veggies, colorful meals, your gut flourishes. So, does your mood. Real life, a shift in one meal. Let's bring this to life with someone you'll recognize. Monica, 61, used to start her day with black coffee and a banana. She'd feel jittery by 10 a.m., crash by 3 p.m., and reach for cookies around 4. Her doctor said her hormones were normal for her age, but she didn't feel normal. A nutrition coach helped her switch to a warm breakfast: scrambled eggs with spinach, a slice of whole grain toast with almond butter, and green tea. Within 5 days, her cravings dropped. Within 2 weeks, her energy was consistent all day. And within a month, her brain fog lifted, not because of a supplement or a cleanse, but because her hormones were finally supported. Why this matters so much when you understand how food interacts with estrogen, insulin, and serotonin, everything starts to make sense. You stop blaming yourself. You stop chasing the wrong fixes. And you start building meals and days that work for your body, not a younger version of it. This is about hormonal literacy, about finally learning the language your body has been speaking for years. Quick snapshot: how to support hormones with food. Here's a simple framework that many women over 50 have used with great results. Every meal should have a protein: eggs, fish, legumes. Include a healthy fat: olive oil, avocado, nuts. Add fiber-rich carbs: squash, quinoa, lentils. Eat colorful vegetables. The more variety, the better. Include fermented foods a few times a week like kefir, sauerkraut, or miso. You don't need to count macros or calories. Just build your plate to feel stable, not deprived. This isn't a diet, it's a dialogue. Your hormones are always listening. When you restrict, they panic. When you nourish, they respond with clarity, calm, and resilience. You're not broken. You're in transition. And the more you work with your biology, with wisdom, not willpower, the more radiant, balanced, and truly well you become. You've done a lot of things right. You've shown up. You've stayed informed. You've tried the diets, read the books, watch the trends. And maybe now, at this stage in your life, you're wondering why all of that effort hasn't led to the results you were promised. Here's the truth: you're not starting over. You're starting smarter. Because now, you're no longer chasing perfection, you're building something sustainable. And that changes everything. You already know more than you think. Think about how much you've learned just by living in your body for over 50 years. You know what fatigue feels like. You know what joy feels like. You know when something's off, even if no lab can explain it. That lived experience. It's wisdom. And now, you finally have the science to match that wisdom. So instead of wiping the slate clean and starting from scratch, you get to integrate. You get to say, I still value movement, but I no longer push through pain. I still eat clean, but I won't restrict joy or satisfaction. I still care about my body, but I refuse to punish it into compliance. This is not a reset. This is a realignment. What starting smarter actually looks like. It's not dramatic. It's not all or nothing. It's a shift in rhythm. Here's what it looks like in real life. You notice that skipping meals makes your brain fog worse, so you plan simple breakfasts that nourish and ground you. You realize you feel calmer with cooked vegetables and warm meals, so you lean into those, instead of cold salads that leave you unsatisfied. You learn that walking after meals helps with digestion and blood sugar. So you start a 10-minute routine, not to burn calories, but to support your body. These aren't drastic changes. They're wise adjustments, rooted in your biology and guided by your intuition. A gentle revolution. Women over 50 are leading a quiet revolution in wellness, not by doing more, but by doing what works for them. You're no longer interested in one-size-fits-all rules. You want personalization, sustainability, dignity, and most of all, you want to feel like your health habits support your life, not take over your life. In a recent study from the American Journal of Lifestyle Medicine, women who made small, consistent shifts toward nourishment instead of following restrictive plans reported higher long-term adherence and better emotional well-being after 12 months. It's not about trying harder. It's about finding what fits and staying with it because it feels good, not because you're afraid to stop. Real life, the power of one simple routine. Linda, 64, had been on diets for 40 years. She knew every calorie count, every carb swap, every trick in the book, but nothing felt right anymore. At 63, she made one change. She stopped tracking food and instead began asking, does this meal feel grounding? She swapped yogurt for eggs in the morning, added roasted vegetables to lunch, and started ending her day with chamomile tea and a short walk instead of snacks. That's it. No spreadsheet. No plan. 6 months later, she said something powerful. I feel like I'm finally in a conversation with my body, not a war. That's what starting smarter looks like. Anchoring the new normal as you move forward. The key is consistency, not perfection. If you miss a day, that's life. If you eat something that doesn't agree with you, that's data, not failure. If you fall back into old habits, you now know how to realign faster and with more self-respect. You're not looking for a perfect track record. You're building a sustainable rhythm. This mindset frees you from the cycle of shame and starts a cycle of curiosity, and that's where real wellness lives. You already have the tools. Let's take a breath and honor this. Everything you've learned, every mistake, every effort, it brought you here. It wasn't wasted. It was preparing you to listen better, to act with more intention, to finally trust your own feedback loop. You already have the tools. Now, you're just learning how to use them differently. Smarter, softer, stronger. If this video left you thinking, why didn't anyone tell me this before? You're not alone. Millions of women over 50 are silently wondering the same thing. And it's not because we weren't trying. It's because the system was never designed with us in mind. We were given rules. We followed them. And when our bodies changed, we were told to just try harder. But you don't need to try harder. You need better information and the courage to trust your own experience. Everything you've learned today is grounded in science. But more importantly, it's grounded in respect for your body, your story, and the complexity of life after 50. Because health isn't just about numbers or willpower. It's about harmony between your hormones and your habits, between what you know and how you live. And once you stop chasing control and start practicing nourishment, the shift is undeniable. Food becomes fuel, not fear. Your body becomes a partner, not a project. And your health becomes sustainable, not something you're constantly chasing. You don't need to erase your past. You don't need to overhaul your life. You just need to start smarter, with compassion, clarity, and a little support. So, here's your next step. Go back to your plate, not with a calculator, but with curiosity. Ask, what would it feel like to eat for energy, for calm, for strength? Then start there. And if this resonated with you, make sure you're subscribed because the next video in this series is all about how to calm inflammation naturally and the 5 most surprising triggers for fatigue in women over 50. We're just getting started.